Hello, everybody. I'm Johnny Ridd. I'm the founder CEO of RQ, and I'm delighted to be joined by Dean Neaves of Icaew. Dean, if you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll get quickly to what we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, thanks, Johnny. Hello, everyone. My name's Dean Neaves. I'm a senior manager here at Icaew within the Quality Assurance Department, and I head up our monitoring of both practice assurance and DPB investment business.
Fantastic. Thank you, Dean. And today we're going to briefly talk through referrals. So, the opportunity risks associated with referrals and the extent to which your DPB license as an ICAW chartered firm is relevant in this context. First, we're going to touch briefly on why referrals even matter, why we're talking to them. Dean is then going to take us through, at a very high level, obligations as a firm in this area, some of the consequences of getting it wrong. And then we'll briefly touch on the RQ solution, how it works, and segue to some of the upside of getting this right. And then we'll have a few closing remarks. So, first of all, why are we even talking about referrals? Well, referrals continue to be a really important way of adding value to clients. Accountants are still, you are still a trusted advisor and a first port of call when it comes to recommendations for your clients. And referrals to other professionals, be they financial advisors, solicitors, mortgage brokers, and so on, can add real value, but it has to be done in a structured, compliant way. Your DPB license can be a key enabler to all of this, but you need to be careful with how you use it. So, Dean, over to you.
Thanks, Johnny. And as you can see from the slide here, there are some clear responsibilities and obligations for firms when making referrals. So, first of all, ensuring that you are doing adequate and proper due diligence on the firms that you are referring to. And making sure it's important to get clients' consent as well when you are making those referrals. Now, if you are referring for regulatory referrals under your DPB license, then you need to satisfy both the incidental test and the complementary test. So, in very basic terms, making sure that those exempt regulated activities sit alongside other services, other accounting services that you're providing. And we'll see this a bit more in the slide that we look at in a moment. And then finally, it's really important that if you do receive commissions or revenue share or referral fees or any other income as a result of that referral, that it is accounted for correctly. And again, we'll look at that in a couple of moments. So let's just have a very brief look at what constitutes an exempt regulated activity and therefore a regulated referral. And it really does come down to two aspects. One, is it your firm that's approaching the, in this case, independent advisor, or is the client making that approach? And secondly, what are you making the referral for? Is it something such as investments, general investments, in which case it's more likely to be unregulated, unless, of course, it's to a restricted advisor? Or are you making referrals for insurance, contracts of insurance, or pension products, in which case a DPB license is more likely to be required. So you can see that that's how we've set it out on the screen there, and more information is available in our help sheet, Introductions to Financial Advisors. So let's talk briefly about commissions. So really in this context of referrals, there are two types of commissions. There are unregulated, where you've made an unregulated referral, or regulated, where you've made a regulated referral. And this slide here shows us how we should account for those unregulated commissions. And the really important takeaway here is to ensure that you are getting consent from your client to retain those commissions if that's what you intend to do. And for unregulated commissions, there are three ways of doing this. Firstly, and as you can see on the left-hand side of the slide, it's by obtaining advanced informed general consent, so typically via an engagement letter. And this is where clients would sign up to your firm retaining the commissions. But it's very important that the actual commissions that you're likely to receive are disclosed, or a very small range of outcomes, so that the client knows what sort of level commission you are likely to be retaining. The second way would be to obtain consent for each individual commission that you're likely to receive and to do that in advance of receiving those commissions. And the third is to get retrospective informed consent. So after actually receiving the commission. And if you're doing that, remember, it's important that those commissions aren't yours until you've actually got that consent from the client, and therefore should be retained in a client money account if you're going down that route. So let's briefly look at regulated commissions. And again, you will see on this slide that one of the aspects has fallen away. So for regulated commissions under a DPB license, then the option to go for advanced general consent via the engagement letter is not permitted. So you will need to obtain consent from one of the other two options that you can see here on the screen. So let's have a look at what could happen if things go wrong. Well, there's a number of things. There's a regulatory finding or even perhaps a penalty as a result of perhaps a QAD visit, or probably more importantly, reputational damage. And commissions are receiving a lot of press at the moment, and many of you will be aware of the current car finance issue that's going through the courts at the moment. So it's really important, as you can see from number 2, handling those commissions correctly is key. And if you do have a breach, it goes without saying, it's really important to put that right and put plans and processes and procedures in place to make sure that you get things compliant going forward. So let's have a look about how firms can address the challenges in this, what is a complex area. And that's where Icaew have teamed up with RQ to form a collaboration that we've been working on for a number of years now on this platform, which helps firms to deal with this, as I said, complex area in a compliant fashion. So I'm now going to hand over to Johnny, who's going to take us through some of the elements of the RQ platform.
Thank you, Dean, very much indeed. That's really instructive. So if you're thinking through all of those different bits and pieces that you as a firm need to do in order to be compliant in this space, it's getting due diligence covered off on the partners you're referring clients to, capturing that consent and making sure that you're securing it in the appropriate way, knowing what constitutes a regulated referral, needing to log it, make sure it's incidental and so on. And that's contingent on where it's going, what the referral's for and so on. And if you're generating income, disclosing that to clients, depending whether it's a joint venture or fee share or commission, obviously that has a bearing too. There's a lot that you need to be thinking about. And doing that on a consistent, repeatable basis for each and every client firm-wide is a real challenge. In fact, we're firmly of the view that there aren't any systems out there today that can automate this or get anywhere close to giving you the tools to effectively manage it. And that's because the nature of the problem, you're dealing with referrals that can oftentimes be informal, in passing, and it can be very difficult to capture and reroute this at the point of a referral taking place. And that, frankly, is why we built RQ. So RQ is compliant infrastructure that seamlessly integrates with your existing environment, your CRM, practice management software, and even your inbox to make sure that each and every time a colleague is making a referral, they're doing so in a compliant, repeatable, and scalable way. And our intelligent Outlook add-in will actually read and intercept what it thinks are referrals before they get sent. And with 1-2 clicks, you can reroute it via our compliant infrastructure, ensuring that all of those disclosures, consents that Dean mentioned at the beginning are done in a way that the Institute is happy with. And so you're not looking at a protracted rollout because it's simply enabling an add-in inside your environment, and then it's available to all of colleagues. That's a real benefit of this. It then means, as a firm, you get the benefit of firm-wide data so that you can see referrals being auto-categorized into that rather confusing, is it regulated, is it not? The platform will look at all the different parts that have a bearing on that and automatically categorize the referral as exempt or otherwise and provide a full audit trail of all of those signed disclosed letters that's available for review by QAD or whomever it might be. There isn't any drawn out network onboarding, so it's easy for your firm to get set up, but it's also very easy for your referral partners to receive referrals via RQ. There's no they don't have to go and carry out a protracted onboarding themselves. They just set a password and then they can start receiving referrals. It's very easy from that perspective as well. Crucially, you're in control as well. So if you're the compliance head or the partner in control of this area, you can lock down your panel. That is partners that colleagues can refer to, and you can decide who gets approved and can be a recipient of referrals from colleagues. You can even go so far as designating individual referral partners or service areas where you're particularly want to ensure that they're going to the right partner. Um, there is also due diligence available in the platform itself. So we aggregate data from the FCA, the Financial Ombudsman Service, and other sources so that you can do a modicum of desktop due diligence of the firms. And there's a more intensive certification program as well on financial advisors. So it can help you evidence that due diligence has been carried out. And finally, RQ also gives you the tools to more effectively and deliberately manage your referral partners to the benefit of clients. So you can start seeing data on where referrals are going, where they're coming into the practice. You can see the rate at which they're progressing and how happy clients are. So the platform will generate NPS surveys, and you can see the responsiveness of your referral network as well. So you're using a compliant tool to propagate a database in real time that will mean you can deliver more value for clients and better oversee the stewardship of those referrals that you make. So that's it by way of very brief overview of the RQ platform.
So to summarize, referrals remain a key growth lever, but as you can see from what I was talking about earlier, they must be handled with care. Much more information is available on our website at icaew.com/dpb. So with the help of RQ, you can protect your firm, meet regulatory expectations, and unlock real opportunity. And the platform is free to ICAW members for core use. And we believe it makes compliance far easier and more consistent. Thank you.
Thank you, Dean, very much indeed, and thank you all for watching.